Yikes! I had my mic off. Jesus. Good thing I checked. Mongo, X Mongo, February 2025. Let's get it in. Got quite a few questions here, quite a bit. So we're gonna be here for a while. I got the window open so it won't get too hot. But hopefully it won't be like fire trucks or anything coming down the block. So let me make sure my mic is working. Make sure my levels is good, and then we can get right into this thing. No point in waiting. Um, Audio, please. No audio checks. What's happening? Okay, there we go. So we on point. Let's get. Oh shit, get that down. All right, let's get into it. Um, get into our questions here, because we got 26 posts. But that doesn't mean that there's going to be 26 questions, right? All right, Lugom 5150. Besides YouTube, do you have any hobbies you like to do? This is one of his 3 questions. Yes, I love to read. I love to write, even though I haven't written anything this year. I haven't written anything this year. I have some ideas of what I want to write, but I haven't written anything this year. But I like to read, I like to write, and um, I liked watching old TV shows, anime, movies, music. I was just listening to Pusha T before I started this thing. So I like to do a lot of different things. I like sometimes just being in different environments. His second question: do you have a day job when you're not doing YouTube? Yes, I work in a psych hospital, actually. 3, what was your favorite job you've ever had? Oh, that's an interesting question because I don't really have an answer for that. But I worked in the community for a while. I was kind of what they call a community organizer. Um, that's when I got to go to some, block club meetings, business association meetings. I got to I went down to City Hall, down to the City Council building when the Hispanics were down there yelling about the air quality. They was going off about air quality. I was also feet on the ground when there was some bulldozing of some buildings on the west side of Detroit, and they were concerned about soil contamination because they were trying to do like one of these stupid community gardens. And I hate community gardens, by the way, because the soil is already contaminated because you even built a house on it, right? And so once you get all the contaminants in the soil, it's in the food at that point, right? So they was concerned about that, and that was probably one of the more fun jobs that I had. It didn't pay shit though. It didn't pay anything. That's why I had to stop doing it. But if I could have just did that, I could have just did it. It would have been fun. All right. So DeAndre Dukes has 3 questions. What's up, M Studios? How you doing, sir? One, what's your favorite Michael Jackson album? Well, it's easy to just say Thriller. I mean, because that's the right answer. But you need to give a lot of credit to Off the Wall too, because Off the Wall is amazing. It really is. The first 2 Michael Jackson albums were really good. Um, so probably Off the Wall if I can't say Thriller. But Bad is also pretty good, but I probably would say Off the Wall before I say Bad. His second question: which wrestlers from any promotion would you release for them to get better? Oh, for them to get better. Uh, that's a good question. See, there's a lot of people I would release because they suck already, and I don't want anything to do with them. But so I can see them improve. Um, hmm, that's a good question. I have to put some thought into that one because that would mean that they can improve where they are, and I think that would be a mostly AEW talents at that point. There's quite a few guys in AEW that could be good if you gave them a lot of time and you gave them some space. Um, you never know what you can get from them, or people who will be better off in TNA. Chris Statlander is one of those people. She's number one on my list of people who I think can honestly do better than what AEW is doing with her. She might be too loyal to the company to leave, but a year or two for Chris Statlander in TNA would do wonders for her career. I mean, just immaculate things. Um, Deanna Purrazzo at this point. I know she's been in all three major companies at this point, so ain't really much you can do. But I think she was really better in TNA as well. She got to show off what she could do. It's a company that probably is a little bit more catered to her style, but I do think she had hit her ceiling in TNA, and that's why leaving was probably a good idea. Um, who else would I probably have? I probably have leave. Um, I don't know. Like those are three interesting ones. I'll try to think of a couple from WWE. Pretty Deadly. I think they could be if you give them an opportunity somewhere else. Like if they were in TNA, they would be super fun because TNA is not afraid to do silly gimmicks, and WWE got away from it. And Pretty Deadly would really work in TNA. Like they could do a really good job. So same thing with like Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza. I think both of those guys are tremendous. They're not getting enough time in WWE. You don't see enough of them. And like I said, going back and watching some like what was that? I think it was 2017, 2018 mid card WWE, or maybe 2019 when you had Umberto as a singles act. Man, he was good. He wasn't over because he couldn't really talk, but he was good. Oh man, his matches with Andrade were really good. And I feel like he's kind of stunted his growth in WWE because he's hit a ceiling. And it's very unfortunate. His third question: how do you feel about the extra content and championships WWE are having? I hate the new championships. The new championships is god awful. I can't stand them. I think that they're actually an embarrassment. Of the new championships, I think the most useful ones are probably the women's mid card belts, but they don't do anything with them to make the belts interesting. So why even have them? You could have a solid, flourishing women's mid card, but they don't refuse to do it. It's literally been the same four people for 6 months, 7 months, or whatever. It's been a long time. It's just been the same four damn people. Lugum is back. He has two new questions. Says, who is your favorite music artist? Well, my favorite group is Bone Thugs and Harmony. Favorite solo act is probably Nas. Then you also have Michael Jackson. You also have Prince. You also have Rick James. You also, so I think it would be Funkadelic. Um, who else could I think of? The Isley Brothers. So my favorite music genre is his next question. Um, favorite music genre? It'd probably be rap still. Um, even though I try to avoid listening to too much rap, but it'll probably still be rap because it's so deeply ingrained into who I am. Because I listened to it for 30 years, man. You don't just quit after 30 years and you don't no longer care about it. All right. Black Saiyan 97 has four questions. One, what are your thoughts on Terry McGinnis from Batman Beyond? And do you think he should make a comeback? Well, I have not finished Batman Beyond. I watched a couple of episodes here and there during the original run, and I watched the first, I think, two episodes since then. I have not watched the entire series all over again. But I think if you wanted to tell a linear Batman story, similar to what they're doing with the Batman White Knight universe, where they're trying to funnel in everything from Batman Beyond to the Red Hood and all that kind of stuff. I think Terry McGinnis would be fine as a character to bring into the universe. I think Batman Beyond that was very much of its time because it was very much a high tech Batman of the future. Um, and I like the idea. It's kind of like the only problem with that is Batman is already kind of futuristic. Like he would have to be like a Jetson at this point in order for it to really make sense. Like he would have to because they don't age Bruce up. They just But yeah, I liked Batman Beyond. I like the premise, um, and I think it's fun. I think it's fun. His second question: do you believe Michael Jackson was the greatest artist of all time? Well, that's a difficult question. Um, I would say he's virtually peerless. You know, of artists who had a hell of a run when they were on top. Guys like Frank Sinatra, guys like Elvis, the Beatles. Um, I think Michael Jackson is just bigger than all of them. You know, without question. I mean, Michael Jackson just was just next level. At the same time, though, he was just a singer. You know, um, but I think that he had such range as a singer, and he knew what he wanted to do. He had such control over the work that it might be. But again, I'm biased because fuck, I'm 40. Michael Jackson was famous my entire adult life until he passed away. I grew up on Michael Jackson. It would be easy to say, but I think if I was to sit down and talk to my mom, she would probably try to convince me that it's Johnny Taylor. So I don't know. I don't know. Um, Black Santa 87's third question: what are your thoughts on Miles Morales as a whole, and have you seen the Spider-Verse movies? I believe I reviewed the Spider-Verse movies, both of them that have been out so far. Miles Morales as a character, I think he fits the Ultimate Universe that he came from. I think making him 616 was a mistake. I think the idea of Black Hispanic Spider-Man, uh, I don't like it because it's a hand-me-down gimmick. That's why I say it probably would have worked in the Ultimate Universe. I don't think it works in the main universe, but I don't like hand-me-down gimmicks. That's just not my thing. In terms of the Spider Verse movies, I think the first one was fine. The second one was okay too. And I didn't. I think that they're basically taking certain elements from other Spider characters and bringing it into Miles' story though. Four, any old anime or manga you're watching or reading recently? Well, how old is old? Because I was watching. What was that? Was it Space something Cobra? I was watching, which is a really old anime. I kind of fell off because I started watching Speed Racer 2. I watched the first maybe 8 episodes of Speed Racer on YouTube. Um, I didn't know that show was going to be that intense. But so yeah, I was watching this is Space Pirate Cobra or Space Hunter Cobra or whatever. I was watching that. I was watching Speed Racer. I'm probably gonna end up watching Dominion Task Force, Tank Force. I'm sorry, because I saw that some characters that might be interesting on there. I'm going to be getting the Gunsmith Cats manga that's going to come out, I think, next week or 2 weeks from now. It's $30, but hey, I love the art and I like the premise, so I think I'm gonna get the Gunsmith Cats manga. Now, in terms of old manga, that's probably gonna an old anime. That's probably be it. But I'm always interested in getting in more. Lugum is back. He has three more questions. Favorite actress and actor. Okay. Favorite actor is a tough one. There was a time there where I would watch anything with Samuel L. Jackson in it. Literally. If Formula 51, I watched it because Sam Jackson was in it. Caveman's Valentine, watched it because Samuel L. Jackson was in it. Changing Lanes, watched it because Samuel L. Jackson was in it. I really didn't even have any interest in those movies, but I watched it because I was a big fan of Samuel L. Jackson. So at this point, still, though, I'll probably put him second because I think Denzel is the GOAT. Um, I think my top four is probably Pacino, De Niro, Denzel, and Samuel L. Jackson. That'll probably be my top four in terms of my favorite actors. Favorite movie? That's a good question because usually I like the foreign kung fu flicks. I like, Hero, um, House, not House of Flying Daggers. Yeah, House of Flying Daggers. I love that movie. Also, big fan of Mo Better Blues. Also, um, Big fan of like The Godfather and Casino. So if I had to pick one, that would be tough. That would be very, very tough. I don't think I could pick one. Also, Steve McQueen is one of my favorite actors too. I love the Thomas Crown Affair about it and Bullet. Both of those are very good. What's my favorite TV show? Um, Favorite TV show outside of a cop out would say would be like WWE Raw or something. Like one of my favorite television programs. It's a good question. What it would be one of my favorite television programs? Um, hmm. I don't know. Maybe Good Times. I think Good Times might be my favorite TV show. I think that might be it. I think I should have been born in like the '60s or something like that because I enjoy a lot of stuff from the '70s. The Sanford and Son is another one of my favorite TV shows. Um, King of the Hill is another one of my favorite TV shows of all time. Same with Futurama and Archer. Loves me some Archer. Um, Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball and Z, two of my favorite shows. Batman the animated series, Spider-Man the animated series. Now in terms of live action television, Spartacus that was on Stars. I bought that on DVD. The Daredevil series is one of my from Netflix is one of my favorite TV shows. Um, yeah, there's a lot. I never really got into stuff like The Wire, even though I am watching Boardwalk Empire now, and it's better than I thought it would be. I love Boardwalk Empire. I watched the first season already. I'm about to start season 2 tomorrow. WG Field has 8 questions. 1. With news of Vince starting up a wrestling company for the second time, how would you envision the Field's success? Who do you think would jump ship to join? Well, the thing about seeing Vince run a wrestling company is I believe he's barred from doing so for a certain amount of time. I don't know if that non-compete is up because when he sold the company, he had to sign a non-compete. And a lot of people are talking about Vince starting up a company. It keeps saying it's an entertainment company, but we don't know what that means. Um, I don't know. Like, let's say hypothetically, it is a wrestling company. You know, I think it would be just like the WWE because the WWE was his vision, and I don't think it'll be successful. Mainly because of the damage done to his reputation. Now, if any, and then I don't think there is a lot of young talent that would be interested in working for Vince that wouldn't already go work for WWE. And that would be a problem getting talent unless he was going to build a roster of people who've already been canceled. Then maybe that, but at that point you'll be looking at people saying, "All right, you're probably going to blackball anybody who goes to work for Vince." From ever working in WWE or pretty much AEW. So it probably wouldn't be a wrestling company. It'd probably be something else. 2, do you think WrestleMania 41 is going to be a sleeper hit like WrestleMania 38, where the bill was small, but it was good overall Mania and it's shaping up to be a bad Mania? Imagine not having an idea for what the Roman, the Rock, Cena, and Punk to do for Mania. I think that people are going to be energized just because it's WrestleMania in general. But I think it's gonna have to be a sleeper because there's nothing major going into the show yet. Outside of what is The Rock doing. So I guess we'll figure that out when we get there. 3, do you think Jay should have faced Cody at Mania? No, I think Jay should not have won the Royal Rumble at all. Actually. 4, what is the end goal for the big 4 PLEs becoming 2 nights? Wouldn't it be better to do one card considering Triple H is only doing 4 or 5 long matches? Do you think we'll end up getting 2-night PLEs for every PLE? If Nick Khan can make every event 3 days, he will. I'll just tell you that from the jump. but I think it's going to end up being what they consider the big four events, or maybe the big five: Rumble, Mania, SummerSlam, Money in the Bank, Survivor Series, and that'll probably be it when it comes to 2 night events. And I think the only thing that really works as a 2 night event is Rumble and Mania. I don't think we like. Yes, who cares? Who really wants to see two Money in the Bank matches in one night? But at the same time, if you tell people, "Oh, this is going to be the women's Money in the Bank ladder match," then there might be a diminished interest in that. Same thing with the women's Royal Rumble. It might be a diminished interest. You know, so what you would have to do is you have to put the stronger main event on whatever night the women is going to do their show. So let's say night one is going to be the women's Rumble. Usually the Rumble would be the main event, and but you would have to book like Roman Reigns to be the main event of that show in order for the women to sell tickets. And I think you wouldn't have to do that with night two. You could just have like the girls as the top singles act, because then the men's Rumble is going to main event. You'll probably have to do something like that in order to sell a 2 night event if you're going to split the men's and the women's events. Um, Number five, do you like the time change of changing PLEs to 5 or 6 p.m.? I do actually, because even if the shows go 3 or 4 hours, it's still not too late. You know, I didn't think I was going to like the Saturday events as much. And I'm still not thrilled about it because Saturday is definitely a date night. But at 4 or 5 o'clock, it's not out of control. You know, it's not it's not too out of the ordinary. The only problem I have with it is the events are so slow that sometimes you will still end up with a 3 hour, 4 hour show, and there's only 5 matches because there's so many commercials and stuff. Six. Now that Triple H is in the Hall of Fame, what do you think his legacy is? And say something positive about his career, both as a wrestler and a booker. I think his legacy is NXT. There is the second incarnation of NXT, the Super Indie. I think that is what people are mostly going to remember. I think his wrestling career is tainted by the fact that he married into the company. So you can't get anybody to give a real fair reading of his work. So the idea that anybody's going to actually watch Triple H matches and then grade them fairly is not likely. And then I also don't really care about his matches. I really don't. And then of course the Reign of Terror ran so many people off. It's just problematic. But when he got the reins of NXT and he turned it into a developmental league, like the NCAA for WWE, I think that was the smartest thing he could have done. And that was a very savvy business move. It gave himself a creative outlet, and it allowed him to do a lot of the things Vince was hesitant to do, like give women more time to work, like taking a chance on some of these undersized indie guys. They gave Triple H an opportunity, and I think that's really what his legacy is going to be. Seven. Why does WWE keep doing game shows for scouting wrestlers like Tough Enough and Legends of Future Greats when rarely any of them make it past NXT or end up jobbers in WWE? Well, WWE is a content mill, and they pretty much have said this. They'll do anything as long as it's content. I just don't understand why they keep renaming it. Like they keep renaming these shows and hoping that the legends can draw interest, but it's just not working. I just don't think anybody cares, you know. So I don't think anybody wants to see wrestlers train. You know, like the Ultimate Fighter, that was a different. It was like lightning in a bottle. And Ultimate Fighter wasn't doing nothing but aping Tough Enough. Tough Enough had already existed by the time the Ultimate Fighter thing. But I think that style of reality TV show is dead. I don't think anybody wants to watch talent struggle and embarrass themselves and humiliate themselves. Some people do, but I don't. You know, maybe I'll go back and watch that stuff if these people ever make it anywhere, but I don't think so. I don't think so. Number eight, as a big Cena fan, it's a real shame that they aren't doing anything to feature him or even have feuds with him. This is one of the reasons why I wish Vince didn't step down because Cena's retirement run would have been special under him. I agree. Vince would have really like that's the difference between Vince and everybody else because Vince McMahon was a visionary and he was more than a fight promoter. Like the thing with Tony Khan and Triple H is they're basically like fight promoters. Vince McMahon is Don King, you know, he's ballyhoo, you know, the lights and he's gonna talk you into watching something that might be mediocre as fuck. But you're excited to see it because Vince is excited to see it and he's really selling it. But Tony Khan and Triple H are basically like these old fight promoters who want to have the best match possible. And then if it doesn't work out, you don't know what to do after that. Like you're not sure. But with Don King and Vince, you're selling the entire experience. And it's not lost on me that Don King has a terrible reputation, much like Vince McMahon. Lou Gum is back. This is like the third set of questions. Have you ever been out of the country? I've been to Canada. So yes, I've been out of the country. I would like to go other places, but I've only been to Canada so far. It says, if the answer is no, what is your dream vacation destination? It would have been somewhere in Europe, but now there's roving rape gangs in Europe, so I'm not interested. So maybe Japan, maybe Tokyo. Are you more of a hot weather type of guy or cold? I actually cannot stand being hot. I hate being hot. That's one of the big barriers for me moving down south. Is it's so hot and it's like dry heat. It kicks my ass. I can't stand it. Um, but if I can get like a good mild heat where it's not too bad, and I think everywhere else, I think I'm in a good place because even though it snows a lot in Michigan and you can't really tell what the weather's going to be, there's no hurricanes, no tornadoes, no earthquakes, no mudslides, no snakes, like that kind of stuff. So I guess I'm kind of stuck where I am. Mr. VXG says, how would you book WrestleMania if you were in charge? Where are a few matches you'd want to see? Well, for starters, I would have done the simplest story that you could possibly do. I did Punk and Cody or Cena and Cody. And I think that would have been the most obvious things to do is you set Cena up with a championship match to see if he can break the record during this last run. And even if Cena doesn't win, you don't have to take him out of the conversation. You could just say, well, he didn't win it at WrestleMania. Then you could kick the ball down the road and maybe he comes back for whatever show they're going to do in Saudi Arabia. And then you try, maybe he doesn't win that one either. Then maybe he tries to win the Money in the Bank briefcase. And you just try all these things to get to Cena's 17th championship. And then maybe you do have him win the Money in the Bank. And then he cashes it in on his very last night, his retirement match, Cena's final match. Cena versus whomever for the WWE Championship. And he wins the title on his last night. And then he says that he can't just give the belt away because it's disrespectful. So he's willing to defend it. So he's going to have another match for the title, which he loses. And then he loses the belt. And I would have him lose the belt to Punk or somebody like that. And that way he can retire. And I think that would be, it's kind of cheap because it'll be the last time it wouldn't be necessarily a lie because he'd still be on his retirement tour, but I wouldn't end it with this would be his last WrestleMania. It would be his next to last WrestleMania because I would have him win the title and his final show in December, and then have him say he'll come back to wrestle whoever wins the Royal Rumble and to give that guy an opportunity to take the title from him at WrestleMania. Then I would have Cena lose the belt to whoever wins the Royal Rumble that year. Lights. Oh, the damn thing went down. Lights has 3 questions. Who do you consider the best female wrestler of all time? Oh, hot damn. I want to stick to my generation. Who's the best female wrestler I've ever seen? Well, there's a couple of answers to that question. See, I remember I said something about fire trucks, and then that's a damn fire truck. Um, there's actually quite a few that I have fun with. I always have fun watching Sherry's matches. Like, she's not technically the best female wrestler I've ever seen, but I have a lot of fun watching Sherry. I have a lot of fun watching Charlotte. You can watch some Japanese stuff from Asuka that is actually very good when she was younger, and basically her whole gimmick was kicking people in the head and stuff. Um, uh, mm, so it's hard to say who will be the best. It's hard to say that. So next, do you play video games? If so, what games? I do not play video games. But I would, if it wasn't such an expensive and time-consuming pastime, I would do it. But mostly, I just don't do it because it's expensive. If I actually did start playing video games, though, I probably would never have time to even watch wrestling. Again, I was a video game addict, and it was hard for me to break that. So I'm not really too big on jumping back into it. Light's third question is, what is your favorite region of hip hop? Probably New York. New York used to be very diverse. Well, all of them are very diverse, but the South, the South didn't really get a lot of credit for being diverse. Like, Outkast was some of the first guys and to come out of the South. But they're not typically what you think of. Well, at least most people. Most people think of Southern artists. They think of like Jeezy, Rick Ross, um, Young Thug, those kinds of guys. When my generation of the South was Goody Mob and Outkast, you know, so it's a little bit different. UGK, but the West Coast and the East Coast and the Midwest, it was so diverse. But I think probably the West, probably the East Coast rather, probably the New York style. It's probably my favorite. Top Dog said has three questions. What was your thoughts on the SoundCloud rap era from 2016 to 2019? That's one of the times where I kind of fizzled out of rap. It just felt like everybody was a rapper, and it felt like that during the blogs too. But for some reason, SoundCloud just felt worse. You know, like when you had 100,000 people doing Dat Piff mixtapes, that was the shits. Because anybody could just upload a mixtape to Dat Piff. Anybody could. That, and there were people constantly trying to give you CDs and stuff like that. Was not good. But SoundCloud, for some reason, it just felt cheesy. I just didn't like it. It's one of the things that made me turn me off rap. Really, it felt like the floor had been lowered so much that there was no quality control anymore. Second question: do you think LeBron is on Jordan's level or not? You asked me an NBA question. Man, I'm stumped. I'm gonna say no. I think that LeBron James is kind of like Jesse Jackson, in so much as the NBA wants another Michael Jordan, and they're going to try to force him to be Michael Jordan. When in reality, he's his own man. They're trying to make him the heir apparent, and they've been doing it since he was 19 or 18 or whatever. I remember watching his college, not even college, high school games on ESPN. So they want to force the issue. So they're trying to force him to be on Jordan's level. But I think most people are not naturally buying it. His third question is, what's your favorite matches of each era from Bruno WWF era to today? Oh, so that would require for me to watch matches from the 60s, which I have not watched that many matches from the 60s. But from the 70s, big fan of Bruno and Stan Hansen. They had a cage match, was probably my favorite Bruno match. Also, big fan of Dusty Rhodes versus Superstar Billy Graham. They had a Texas death match that was really good. I had fun with that. So that was in the 70s. In the early 80s, um, let's say up to before Hogan got there, the Slaughter Patterson boot camp match was pretty damn good. I had fun with, I think it was Tito Santana versus Don Morocco. I think they had a match for the Intercontinental Championship that I really had fun with. Don Morocco was very underrated, by the way. And then of course post Hogan's coming in. That's what 84. So we about to be off to the races with this WrestleMania stuff. We're talking about Steamboat and Savage. We're talking about some really fun stuff between Savage and Jake Snake Roberts. That was in the 90s. Uh, I really liked. Um, I liked kind of like the Jake Roberts, Andre the Giant stuff too. I kind of like that stuff too. I think it had a good psychology to it, even though Andre was basically immobile at that time. Um, so that would be like the early '90s. There's so many matches like Shawn Michaels and Randy Savage in '92. The 1990 Warrior Savage match from WrestleMania six, yeah. Of course, WrestleMania 5, the Mega Powers explode. Um, there's just so many there from that era. I mean, that's just too good. But if you go back to the 70s, man, Bruno and Stan Hansen is really good. So Dennis King is correct. They had a great series of matches, but their cage match is probably one of my favorite matches. Um, and actually, Superstar Billy Graham gets a bad rap too because I thought his match with Bruno was pretty good too. In my opinion, also thought he had a good match with Bob Backlund. I also thought Bob Backlund had good matches. Bob Backlund had a really good match with Don Morocco, and Don Morocco I think was the Intercontinental champion. I think it was champion versus champion, if I'm remembering this match right in my head. But it was fun. All right, 305 Johnny says he has 5 questions. 1, have you ever subscribed to Ground News for information? No. I've heard about it. Of course, I've seen commercials, but I don't know nothing about Ground News. 2, what do you think of Trump's first month in office? Oh, after that debacle with the Epstein list, I'm actually getting more and more sour on Trump. There's obviously things that I'm interested in, but there's things that I don't like. I don't like him picking fights with these other countries, even though I don't care about Canada or Europe. But I think that having everybody's ass read at you at one time is not good for your country. Mainly because now you're going to have people working against you, conspiring against you, all that kind of stuff. You can stand up for yourself without making enemies. That's just kind of my thing. In terms of anything that involves Doge, I'm all for it. The only problem is I know that they don't have the authority to stop what Congress has already put in place. So I think getting too excited about what they're doing with Doge is don't get too excited because the courts do have the right to step in and say, no, this money was already allocated because all spending has to go through Congress. And I get it. Congress has fucked you already, so you have to stay fucked, apparently. But I'm all for them exposing what these people have been spending our money on. I am very leery of Elon Musk getting contracts while he is, I guess you could say, working in government. He's technically not the head of a department because he was not confirmed by the Senate, but he's in a special oversight position where he reports to the president, which is kind of nebulous and like why you would have that position, but I get it. I'm all for a lot of the things that they want to do. Like they want to spread the JFK files, the Martin Luther King files. They're talking about going to Fort Knox to make sure that the gold is still there. Talking about getting rid of the Department of Education and getting rid of the IRS. There's so many other things I'm for. That there's things that but a lot of things that I'm for they haven't done or they don't have the authority to do quite yet. Like they just can't destroy the Department of Education because it was created by Congress. So the only thing they can do is defund the hell out of it and make it pointless for 4 years. And then if they get enough authority, they can get rid of it. But I don't think they have the stones to do it just yet. But I do think they'll end up cutting the budget for these organizations tremendously when the next budget cycle happens. So we'll see. Number 3, do you believe that Captain America: Brave New World is an FBA-based movie? I don't know. I've never seen it, so I can't tell you whether it's an FBA-based movie or not. Question 4, tough question. Thomas Sowell or Jordan B. Peterson, who do you recommend the most? That's an interesting thing. I think that it would depend on the person I'm talking to. I think Thomas Sowell knows more about more things than Peterson does, but I think Peterson has really good insights for the things that he does know. When it comes to Peterson, you have to be it's with anybody. You have to be, be leery of him going outside of his area of expertise. Like when he starts talking about climate change, you're like, I don't know, I don't know about that. But if you want to learn about why the cultures are fucked, you, you should listen to both of them or read both of them. But if you just want to have a full understanding of the economy and how the economy works and how society works and all that kind of stuff, Thomas Sowell is great. A Conflict of Visions is a great book. It teaches you how the left way thinks, and it makes life much easier when you actually learn how they think. And Jordan P. Peterson actually explains a lot too. Their personalities. Jonathan Haidt is another one where they can give you a personality profile for these kinds of people and could actually help you in conversations that you'll know who you're dealing with. But I think that Thomas Sowell is not as famous as Jordan Peterson, which is crazy to me. But I most certainly would suggest Thomas Sowell more to people. Number 5, what is your opinion about black people politician mainframe in 2025 after last year's election? Um, I think Trump did a really good job of splitting the black vote. Now you got some people who are not going back to voting Democrat, and that's always good. I think the more Trump does, even if he doesn't do anything specifically for black people, one of the things that he has done that has been almost heroic is he has woken people up to the fact that blacks are not that important to the Democratic Party anymore. And the fact that you're a Trojan horse for a bunch of other things. Basically, for the LGBT, you're basically an illegal immigrant. You're a Trojan horse. All the civil rights stuff that they pass, they put a black face on it, but then you're a black illegal immigrant or you're a black LGBT person or whatever, black woman, bald head, just gross, obese, or just fugly. And he really has woken people up to that, you know. And you got to realize Trump was a cultural icon before they told you to hate him. So a lot of people are preternaturally, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, they already like him. Let's put it like that. Them Studios or the M Studios has 2 questions. Who is a wrestler do you feel needs to change their look? For me, it's Damian Priest. He needs to get rid of the Undertaker look. I do. I agree with that. I like the entire image of Damian Priest needs to change. He needs to go back to being what he was in NXT, if possible. But also the long hair with the purple stuff in it, I'm not a big fan of that. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all. I don't like the weave. I don't like that at all. Kevin Owens, is it possible he need to change his look? He need to look less like a bum and more like at least a tough guy. You know, if he's gonna wear out what he's wearing, he could at least be a tough dude. I don't, I don't think so though. There's probably some more I can think of, but I don't want to put too much thought into it. Second question from them studios: is it a fair assessment that Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn is the new John Cena versus Randy Orton? I feel like they've seen 30 matches between them in WWE since 2015. It's fair. It's fair. It's more. I make it more akin to Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio, where the guys are great friends, but they just have 100 matches against each other, where they keep switching places. But it's not much of a switch because Ray was rarely the heel in those matches. But they keep switching back and forth and trying to find ways to make the match fresh. His third question: do you think the Elimination Chamber match concept needs to be used sparingly like Hell in a Cell? In my opinion, using the chamber every year to crown a contender for WrestleMania is kind of lazy. I think it works though as a second chance. You know, you have the big battle royal, and in the Royal Rumble, the winner gets a shot at WrestleMania. You have to decide how the second championship is going to be contended for, and the Elimination Chamber is the easiest way to do it. And it's a grueling match where the person who wins comes across like a legitimate contender because you have to beat 500 people. So I'm okay with it. Um, at one point in time, I would have preferred for the Chamber to go back to Survivor Series, where it would have boosted Survivor Series. But I'm okay with the Chamber being used to as the second chance on the road to WrestleMania. Um, his fourth question: what is a WrestleMania pay per view that you like that most fans don't like? Oh, a WrestleMania show? Probably 21. I've never heard anybody speak highly of 21 or 23, and I love both of those shows. I love 21 and 23. 21 got me back into watching wrestling, and 23 I was at live, so I was biased. Five. Where would you rank John Cena as far as babyface characters of all time? Oh, well, he's not Ricky Steamboat or Rey Mysterio or Jeff Hardy, so he's not top three or four. Not Bruno, so that's another one down. I would say you're probably top 10, top 15. Um, Cena was very corny, um, and that's actually what was needed at the time. I think to change the company's image, and that was necessary. You know, but Cena was the kind of guy that he always could turn it on. He could go out there and do the silly Blues Clues kind of shit for the Nickelodeon stuff for a while. But if he needed to yell and get serious, he could do that too. And I think that actually kept the company afloat. But he's not. I don't look at Cena like a pure baby face like Ricky Steamboat or Jeff Hardy when Jeff Hardy's like one of the stupidest things TNA did was trying to make Jeff Hardy a heel. It was just nobody's gonna hate Jeff Hardy. Get real. Rey Mysterio is also a perennial baby face. Almost never works heel. I know he was heel for a short time in WCW, but that's because a lot of those people were just as dumb as the people in TNA. It might have even been the same damn people who thought that anybody can work heel. Somebody Ray's size shouldn't be a heel. What do you think? Um, but so maybe those kinds of guys, and of course you got Prime Dusty as a top baby face. Holy hell, Junkyard Dog. Oh my god. If you never watched like Mid South in the '80s, man, the Junkyard Dog was extremely strong. He was a really strong baby face, man. But so Cena probably be like top 15, but that's because a lot of his stuff was corny as hell. Lugom says, "What is your ethnicity?" I am Black American. As far as I can tell, I am foundational Black American. My grandmother on my mom's side is from Mississippi. I believe the same is for my father's side. Um, but I've never been anywhere where they have family. except Ohio, because I know my mom's mom, she has a brother who lives in Ohio. He's still alive, even though she passed away. They were twins. And I'm not, I've never been to like where they grew up or anything like that. But my mom's birth certificate says she was born in Mississippi. And I haven't seen my dad's birth certificate, but I think he was born down south too. Or maybe he was born up here. I don't remember. But it was clear that all four of my grandparents are Black Americans from the South. So there's that. The second question: if you had the choice to pick where you wanted to be from, what country would you pick? Ah, well, probably the United States. I can't think of a better country. I wouldn't want to be. I mean, only other thing I could probably think of would probably be like one of these islands, like Jamaica or something. But other than that, I can't think of anything better. And I would think about that for cultural reasons. In terms of just the kind of vibe that I usually hang around. It's like, I grew up with a lot of interesting folks, let's say. But I grew up with the sort of Pan Africanist mindset, which is pointless in the long run. But I wouldn't want to be from any African countries. I wouldn't want to be from like Jamaica or Canada or anything like that. I guess I would rather be American. Um, I guess the second best thing would be like being born in Canada, being like or being born in England. But I don't like English niggas. I don't like that. Mm-mm. Uh-uh. Lugom is just he's back again. What are your thoughts on MJF? I think he hit the wall. I think he's done. Well, he has to be forced to grow. I think he's reached a ceiling. What is your favorite wrestling promotion as of right now? I'm just gonna say NXT. I know it's just a TV show, not a promotion, but I'm gonna say NXT. What do you think about the Rock Cody segment? Follow the product. I did a review of that. What is your top 10 sexiest female wrestlers, current and past? Man, look, let me tell you this. I think that some of the sexiest women wrestlers in the absolute world of all time exist right now. All right. Right now. Because there's nobody in history that is as fine as Jada Parker right now. Jesus, no. I can't think of any woman that had ever been around wrestling that is as fine as Jada Parker. Jesus Christ. Like that girl is something else. Like there's the women in NXT right now are gorgeous. And there's never been a collection of women like that put together anywhere. So all of them exist right now. Even the kind of pretty ones like Sunny, she doesn't even in her prime, she ain't got nothing on some of these girls in NXT. Even in her prime, she ain't got nothing on. Even in the Divas era, with all the fake boobs and all the blondes and the super high heels, they didn't got nothing on some of these girls now. Some of these girls now are absolutely gorgeous. And just take your pick. Watch NXT and take your fucking pick. That Jasmine Nick, she's very cute too. Um, Nikita Lyons, in terms of even though she's big, she's a really good looking woman. Tony Storm and AEW, our cherry lip pot goddess. She's amazing. There's some really gorgeous women walking the earth in the wrestling business right now. And almost none of them are in the past. Almost none of them are in the past, man, because they were all tough old broads in the past, like in the distant past. A lot of tough old women, and then they became sort of okay-ish. Like Sherry in her prime was a beautiful woman, you know, but she ain't got nothing on these girls right now. Sable was like the first diva. Like everything about her wasn't real. Her boobs wasn't real. She wearing lip filler. She looked like she had a bunch of surgery. I just wasn't a fan. But like Layla is probably one of the ones I could think of that could probably get these girls a run for their money in her prime. Layla was gorgeous. Layla was gorgeous. Jesus Christ. Um, Candice Michelle was a good looking woman too back then. I haven't seen her and Melina. You could just tell she was crazy, but she was a pretty woman too. Um, but yeah, these girls nowadays, because a lot of them got athletic bodies and pretty faces, and they're very young. They're in their early 20s and early to mid 20s. Like, man, it's unstoppable, man. It's unstoppable. You just can't you can't get away from it today, brother. It's nuts. Um, Mr. VXG said, "What posters did Lil Mongo have on his wall as a kid?" Oh, this is an interesting question because it makes me reminisce a little bit. When I was a small kid, I never had any posters. If I had a wrestling poster, I probably would fold it up and put it in the same jacket with my cards. So I wouldn't put posters on the wall. When I became a teenager, I actually did start putting posters on the wall. And I had the basics: Shawn, Brett, Undertaker. I had Owen Hart, but I had like a bunch of rap posters too. Like when I used to skip school, I used to go downtown, and sometimes if a new rap album had come out, the street team would go around and they put up posters. They had staple posters to the buildings and shit. And I would just go downtown and I would, carefully take the staples out and then roll up the poster and take it home. So I had like two different Crazy Bone posters, like the Thug on the Line poster and the Thug Mentality poster. Um, I think I may have had one of those Nas posters. It might have been Stillmatic, but I had like one of those Eminem posters. Might have been the Marshall Mathers LP or something like that. I had a bunch of those things on the wall. Um, if I had a magazine and the magazine got wet or something, I would take the poster off and take the cover off and put it on the wall. But that became a thing, when I was a teenager. You know, I didn't want to do anything creepy like put big bras on the wall. like, like I didn't want to go freaked out and have like bikini models on the wall. Like I didn't want to go that far, but trust me, that stuff was definitely under the mattress. Lugum has back. He says, "Who do you think faces Cody at Mania?" Well, I guess I didn't do a Elimination Chamber preview, but I'm gonna go on record and probably say it's probably going to be Cena. Um, I think that Cena not winning it is an embarrassment to everybody involved because then at what are you going to do with John Cena? That's sort of the question. But I think you also have the same thing with Punk, and those are your only two options. So I'll probably either go with Cena, even though I think the money is with Punk because they could have a program. Um, so then there's that. But I'm gonna probably do a review, not a review, but a preview of Elimination Chamber. It'll probably be up tomorrow. Johnny asked the question, "What is going on with Oscar?" Well, there's two things going on with Oscar from what I see. One is Oscar, and I followed this. I didn't expect this question, but I did follow this. Somebody posted a clip of her wrestling Mickey James, and she said this was a really good match. And then somebody says it was typical WWE slop, and then they posted the cage match rating for the match, and Oscar just went off. She went crazy about how people review matches, and she didn't know anything about cage match until now, and that people are outsourcing their brains to other people and how they're stupid and all this kind of stuff. And I think she's still going on about that. I think she's still going on about people rating matches. And then people started saying that she was a video game reviewer or something, and she went off about that too because she wasn't. She said she didn't rate video games; she wrote guides or whatever. But there was a lot of stuff. It all started with her saying her match with Mickey James was good, and then somebody else said that it was trash or something. Um, that's pretty much what started it. So she's been on the nut for like 12 hours now about that. 1983 Jay Cheat. What are your 3 favorite Jews? Oh my God. Oh my God. Ooh. Ooh. My 3 favorite Jews? Oh, I gotta come up with 3 Jews. Okay. See, the thing about this, I'm gonna say this kind of anti-Semitic. The Jews changed their names a lot, right? So when you might have a favorite Jew and you don't even know he's a Jew, right? But these 2 guys, I know for certain they changed their names, but they're both Jews. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. They're both Jews. Okay, so that's 2. I got to come up with another Jew. Who else is a Jew? Um, Jerry Seinfeld? No, let's not go with Jerry Seinfeld. Even though I do love that show, I don't know if he's one of my favorite Jews. Um, that's a tough question because I have to think of all the crypto Jews out there. I, I there's so many crypto Jews out here, man. Uh, maybe Hugh Hefner. I think he was a crypto Jew too, wasn't he? Uh, not Leor Cohen. He's not one of my favorite Jews. I don't like Leor. He sucks. Um, sheesh. John Stewart is a crypto Jew, but he's not one of my favorite ones. Uh, hmm. Who else is a crypto Jew? That is. You like Larry David? Larry David from Curb Your Enthusiasm. I never watched the full show. I only saw clips of it, so that would be hard. Who else? Man, one more Jew. I need one more. I need one more Jew. Heyman, Paul Heyman. Okay, so we got it. Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and Paul Heyman. Those are my 3 favorite Jews. So there it is. I did it. I named 3 Jews. I think Todd Gordon is also Jewish. I think he's also a Jew. But I probably wouldn't put him over Heyman, but yeah, probably. There's probably a bunch of comic book writers that are Jews too that I like. Let me put some more thought into that. But there's a ton of crypto Jews out here. Uh, Degenerate Sharingan. Is CM Punk versus John Cena at WrestleMania a good idea? Yes, it is. Of course, that begs the question: who wrestles Cody? Because those are the 2 big money guys right there. Do you have Damian Priest wrestle Cody, and then you're gonna kill WrestleMania because the championship matches won't matter? Do the Yeah, you mean Marv Wolfman? Marv Wolfman is a good Jew. Yeah, he created Blade. Him and Lin Wing, right? Um, yeah, yeah. That could be a good one. That could be a good Jew. I can't think of any Jews in politics though that I like, or any Jews in like business. Is there any Jews in business that I support? Um, is Andrew Carnegie? I know he's Scottish, but I think he was Jewish too. Andrew Carnegie. I think he was Jewish. Gospel of Wealth. I think he was a crypto Jew. I think he was from Scotland though. He was a Scottish immigrant, but I don't know if he was Jewish or not. But yeah, Punk versus Cena is a good match for WrestleMania. Absolutely, it's all about who you want to wrestle Cody at that point. Then the Generation Sharingan is back. He says, "Am I the only one that feels Seth Rollins is very overrated? I've been feeling this way for a decade now." No. The thing is, Seth is very good. Um, I think after his knee injury, though, he diminished quite a bit. Because if you look at Seth before his knee injury, I think that he was amazing. He was tremendous. Even as a character, he was tremendous. And then that knee injury happened. He slowed down a little bit. He turned the character way up, but it just became a laugh, essentially, that he has a crazy laugh. But he's had so many bad years. That 2019 was the shits. When him and Becky were on top, ugh. I think he won the Rumble that year. I think he beat Brock Lesnar that year. And then he still ended up playing second fiddle to his wife. That was the shits. And then all last year he was cross dressing. That pissed me off. I didn't want anything to do with Seth Rollins after that. But generally speaking, I like Seth Rollins as a talent. I think that he earned his position. I don't hate him, but I don't think that. Matter of fact, no, I'm not gonna say that. I definitely think he's overrated, but I wouldn't say for a decade. He had really good matches. He had some good matches. He had a good match with Punk this year. He had that series of matches with Cody that was very good 2 years ago. I was a big fan of the Monday Night Messiah and his matches with Kevin Owens. He got me to like Kevin Owens. I haven't really liked a storyline he's been involved with for a while. I think when it came to storylines, I think it kind of peaked. Well, the Cody thing was good, but that was kind of an aberration. But I think it kind of peaked with his feud with Triple H. I think that's kind of when we got to the maximum of what Seth Rollins could do, in terms of character work. And then the Monday Night Messiah was fun, but I don't. He certainly as a guy that I would have in the main event, but he's not the guy, you know. And I think Triple H's renewed push of Seth Rollins has made him somewhat overrated. Having him win the World Heavyweight title for the first time and hold that belt and pretty much bore everybody to death with that title run, that was not necessary. But Seth, there's still something there. You know, maybe he's one of the guys who need to change his look. You know, maybe if he cut his hair short and, something like that, he might be great again. But I don't know, man. I definitely think he's overrated, but I don't hate him. You know, I love Seth. It's just that I don't like the way he dresses and stuff. I don't think it works. So Mr. VXG actually has the last question from the pot, or the last couple of questions. He says, do you think if you took all of the black wrestlers from all of the major wrestling promotions and put them in their own all black promotion, and if you gave them equal funding and equal TV deal, do you think they could beat AEW and maybe even compete with the WWE? If you took all of the black wrestlers, did that include the half black wrestlers? Because if so, if anybody with dark skin, right? So that means you've taken all of the women from NXT that are black. That would be Jada Parker. That also be Mia Yim, which is she's in main roster, but she counts. That would also be Sol Ruka. That would be Kiana James. That would be Ricky Starks. All these light skinned does. These would be Ricochet. I think they could. I think they could compete with AEW with equal funding and a good creative. Then you still got Lashley and Shelton and Cedric Alexander. And then you still got Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams and Javon Evans. You have a lot of black talent that could really carry a company. So if you wanted to have, let's say, some black billionaire decides to start his own wrestling promotion, and he got to do a draft of all the black talent in the world, and he just signed everybody black. Well, that includes Mercedes and Bianca and Naomi. I mean, you got a hell of a roster right there. You got Swerve. You got a hell of a roster there. Yeah, you probably could do if you booked them correctly. You got them in a pretty good TV deal and all that stuff. They probably could compete with AEW with just the black talent. Yeah, absolutely. It'd probably be woke as shit because you'll end up with New Day and all those guys too. You got to take the commentators because who's gonna commentate? I guess Big E, right? He can't wrestle no more. I guess you got Big E and Titus O'Neil on commentary, and Booker T. Oh, Big E and Booker T on commentary. Ooh, because you know Booker T hates him some New Day. That would be funny. You know, there's never been a black play-by-play guy in WWE or AEW. Neither one of them has ever had a black play-by-play announcer. Interesting. I just thought about that right now. Caprice Coleman, yeah, that's a good one. Caprice Coleman, he's a color guy though, but yeah, he could probably do play-by-play. He's also very good. Yeah, Caprice Coleman is pretty good. I forgot he was stuck in Ring of Honor. He should be on Dynamite because he's better than Taz and Tony Schiavone. My God, they suck. They suck so bad. Fuck. But yeah, Caprice Coleman with Booker T. Oh my God, that could be something. Then you probably have to force Samantha to be the ring announcer. Or Alicia Tyler could be the ring announcer, I guess. Mr. VHG's final question, the final question in the pot. Mongo, if you ran that promotion, who would be your world women's mid-card and tag team champions? So if I ran the all-black wrestling promotion, well, considering we just need to get it off the ground, my first champion would be Lashley because he's a big enough name and draw that if you wanted to just get the thing started, he's a good start. You put him with MVP, you put the Hurt Business as the top stable, you could do fine there. Women's champion easily Bianca Belair. Again, you're just trying to get this thing started. As you start building up new talent, you just go with people. I'm assuming these are people that folks already know, right? Now, tag champions is a little bit. It's be easy to just say the Street Profits because again, same thing. These are people that everybody already knows. While you sit here and you make up new tag teams, and that probably would be it. But then again, there's only like two other black tag teams and that I can think of. One of them being Top Flight, and they broke up the Acclaimed. So no, it just has to be. Well, is Action Andretti black? I think he's half black, isn't he? Because then if so, then Leo Rush and Action Andretti are a tag team. Hmm. I don't know. Is Action Andretti half black or what? He's very light skinned though. He might just be white. So. But yeah, it'd be easy to just say Street Profits, and you can do some nice little feuds there in order to. He's Australian. Oh, well, that doesn't prevent him from being black. He can still be black and Australian. But that just means that he's probably a white guy. Never mind. Yeah, it probably just has to be the Street Profits because it's a team everybody knows, and you can build up new teams around them while you wait. Because there's plenty of black talent, but they're not exposed enough. Like Idris and Nofi and Malik Blade, like TNT, the Tyrese and or Tyreek and Tyrone or whatever the fuck their names are that hang out with Wesley. He's a tether. Oh Lord, so he's like black Australian. I'm sitting here asking what the ethnicity is of a random wrestler on AEW. Like it matters. But yeah, if you took all the black talent out of AEW, WWE, and TNA, well, there's not a lot of black talent in TNA. There's enough, and you got more than enough to make your own promotion, and it could be successful just based off the people that everybody already knows, and then the talent who never got a shot. You know, so you got enough there to work and to get your company off the ground. All right, it's only 9:14, man. I was expecting this thing to go longer than this. So I guess there's got to be some questions in the chat. Let's see what the questions are in the chat. Stone Mexican guy, do you think this Epstein files release is legit? Looks stupid seeing all these people with binders, but no info being released. It is absolute horseshit. Period. And the thing is, we keep getting more bullshit out of this thing about why they keep getting redacted, why it can't just be a PDF file. They talk about the FBI or is it the New York branch of the FBI or whatever, or blocking the release of it. How can they do that when the president said release it? I mean, it's ridiculous. But seeing all these goofballs with these binders is like one of the most embarrassing things about the Trump administration. They're so just goddamn happy. And I heard it's just his phone book, which we already knew. I think everybody already knew who was in the Rolodex. And so what, you were in the Rolodex? That didn't mean he was fucking talking to you. We want to see the flight logs. You know what I'm saying? We want to see if they got pictures. That's what we want. They're talking about, oh, this is man, get real. No, we want flight logs. We want the evidence that you guys have on these people. We want pictures if you got them. All that stuff. That's what we're looking for here, brother. Did you hear about Gene Hackman? Absolutely, I sure as hell did. The man was 95 years old. His wife was in her 60s. They both died. And then the dog died too. There's just no way. And then they say, well, there's no foul play. There's never been a more obvious reason to suspect foul play. Like, what did you think happened? There was like a gas leak or something like that. That might be the only way you can get away with all three people in the house are dead, but there's no foul play. It had to be like a gas leak or, or something like that, where it killed all three people without them, all three beings without them knowing. Other than that, it's foul play. Three people don't have heart attacks at the same time. Three people don't have strokes at the same time. So unless it was a gas leak or, there was an accidental explosion or something, it was absolutely suspicious. Absolutely. It was ridiculous. And I didn't know he was that old. I'm not surprised because he was old when I was young. So I'm not surprised, but great actor. Dennis King says, "What's up, Mongo? I know you've done a lot of commentary on Martin Luther King. Do you think he wrote the famous 'I Have a Dream' speech?" Well, there is, and now that I'm reading this book, Bearing the Cross by David J. Garrow, I have barely cracked the crust of this thing. But in this book, it was acknowledged that people wrote things under his name, and that some of the articles that was posted about the Montgomery bus boycott that was said to have been written by Martin Luther King were actually written by other people. There has been throughout history discussion that he did not write the "I Have a Dream" speech, and that perhaps Bayard Rustin wrote it. Now, Bayard Rustin, of course, is the homosexual communist from New York that used to be friends with A. Philip Randolph, who came down to Montgomery during the bus boycott and became friends with Martin Luther King and all these guys. Or maybe Stanley Levison, who was I believe, the Jewish communist, white Jew communist. One of these guys supposedly have written the "I Have a Dream" speech. Now, people having speech writers, I would not be that surprised. And to be quite honest, I would not be surprised if he didn't write it. Or maybe somebody helped him write it, That might be it. I know a lot of presidents and people like that don't write their own speeches. This just happened to be one of the most profound speeches ever in human history. And the guy who delivered it probably didn't even write it, but he gets credit for it. I don't think I've ever heard of anybody other than Malcolm X writing Malcolm X speeches, though. But I'm pretty sure he had help. But do I believe he wrote it? I honestly don't. Now that I think about it, I honestly don't believe he wrote it. But I could be wrong. He could have actually written it. I already answered this question. What's your favorite Gene Hackman movies? Oh shit, that's. I'm about to put a pause on that one because I can't think of it off the top of my head. Crossface Ray said, "Do you think Triple H will eventually get fired if the ratings and revenue continue?" No, because all that stuff is guaranteed. You know, the money is guaranteed for years and years. Like I think they got 5 years on Netflix. No, no, I don't think he's going to get fired. I think Triple H is probably going to die in a chair at this point, unless there is some kind of real shakeup, like he gets in the middle of something, like he's in the middle of this Vince thing or something like that. He's never going to leave. They need somebody there for goodwill purposes. And that's really what they wanted is they want to have somebody with institutional knowledge. Like when you learn about organizational psychology and organizational management, like one of the things that when like what Trump is dealing with right now is you can't just nuke the entire department. Somebody has to continue working there who knows how the department works, right? So you can't just nuke Triple H. And then you're just left with fucking Bruce and Michael Hayes. Michael Hayes was named in the lawsuit, so maybe not him. There's got to be somebody there who knows how WWE works. And if you're Ari Emanuel, you need Triple H, because that's like he needed Vince because he wanted to make sure that the fans don't reject the product. So you keep the figureheads in position because they have organizational knowledge. They know the talent, they know the structure, the pay structure, negotiating with the talent, all that stuff. If you just get rid of Triple H, you're going to piss off a lot of talent, right? Especially if they got rid of him for stupid reasons. Then they're going to piss off a lot of talent, and it's going to be an exodus. People are going to leave at that point. So you don't want Triple H to get thrown out because then you're going to have a bunch of problems. And I think that's really what happened when Vince left too. Is I think you started seeing like it's not a surprise to me that when Vince left, a bunch of talent decided to stop wrestling and just disappear. Like there was talk about Becky Lynch coming back. Now she still might come back, but very suspicious that she took off shortly after Vince left, and she hasn't even teased coming back yet. Cena's gone. Steve Austin has not shown hide or hair on WWE television since. Brock literally did quit when Vince got ousted, but then he came back and he got named in that stupid lawsuit. So there's so many things that you could deal with here, but you want institutional knowledge. You want somebody who knows the talent, who knows the product, and who the fans like. And the fans don't like Bruce, and the fans don't like Michael Hayes. So you can't get rid of Triple H, at least not right now. Maybe in a couple of years, they will have groomed their own guy to take over. But as of right now, Triple H is invaluable to Endeavor and TKO because he's one of the few reasons people haven't turned off the product because they all trading off of his NXT laurels and how good as he did when he was booking NXT for a short time, and people are still kind of basking in the at least it's not Vince glow. No matter how bad it gets, no matter how boring it gets, at least it's not Vince. But you still need somebody with organizational knowledge. So unless you absolutely need to get rid of him, I don't think so. Spot on by Jordan Peterson. Thank you very much. WG feels that I think both Kevin Samuels and Trump woke up the black community in a way that somewhat broke LBJ's Democrat curse. Yeah, I think the internet really has helped because for a long time people were insulated. When a lot of you guys, I don't know how old some of you guys are, but when I was a kid, you didn't really run into people who had alternative thoughts about Black America. And even though conservatism is not really an alternative thought, A lot of black people were conservatives. They just didn't know it. They didn't know what that meant because it had been labeled being racist. You know, they didn't really consider that, the fact that they didn't hate the police. They wanted their schools to actually teach their children. They didn't want, drugs and gang violence and everything in their neighborhoods. They didn't really consider that to be a conservative position. It was just kind of that's common sense, right? And anything that was conservative was basically labeled as being racist. You hate these people, you hate those people, you just want to see people suffer. And then the internet came along and it taught a lot of people that, hey, your grandparents were conservatives. You know, you want to buy a house and actually own your house without the government, continuously raising your taxes. That's conservative. Hey, you don't want weirdos in your schools, you know, cross dressing and all that kind of stuff. That's just normal behavior. And then people just started picking up on it. Like, yeah, like a lot of this stuff is over the top. A lot of what turned people around too was, again, the way the Democrats behaved. Oh, the Obama years. How as soon as they got a black face in office, it all became all about all the gays. That flipped a lot of people too. But yeah, I think the internet, a lot. I think Kevin Samuels definitely helped. I think I think that anything is anything. Some of the little of the Black MAGA movement when in its early days, your Brandon Tatum's and your Candace Owens, those people helped a little bit. They also hurt a lot too, especially Tatum because he was a cop, and especially Candace Owens because she's nuts. She's fun, but she's nuts. Like, so some of those people went too far. But seeing that the things that your grandparents believed was some of the same stuff that Republicans believed was not out of the ordinary, and was kind of like, oh, that's obvious. So why did my grandma vote Democrat? Oh, because she was told that everybody was a racist. And then they started seeing a lot of the scams. You know, black community is $300 million from Ford and GM and Chrysler and all that kind of stuff, and all you got of it was a barbecue. Where did all that money go? Oh, you threw a barbecue in the community, and then that money just disappeared. Not one, like, just think about how much money went into just Operation Push for like Al Sharpton, right? Not Al Sharpton, sorry, Jesse Jackson. Hundreds of millions of dollars passed through that place. He didn't build not one school, not one hospital, didn't build not one plant to hire one black person. It was all NGOs, all activists, bullshit, right? People started to see that over time. And then it helped that these people were being called out. They were being called out in ways that they had never been they had never been called out before. They were able to do all this stuff in the dark, for years and years because nobody was paying attention. And then over time, people started to pay attention and started calling them out on it. So I absolutely understand that. Now, Dennis King says NXT is cool. They put so many things in one show. SmackDown is 3 hours and they don't have that much. That's because Triple H is a numbskull. He books like Vern Gagne for some reason. Absolutely, Jada Parker's. Man, she's something else. I just found out she got a white mama too. Jesus Christ, they don't look like it. I guess everybody's tripping out about who's your favorite Jews. The Degenerate Shiring out said even before the knee injury, he felt the same way. Just another athletic, gifted former ROH talent. I liked him before the knee injury. I thought he was really good before the knee injury. I think he did a really good job as being the corporate champion, the sellout, the little shit heel. I thought that was fun. Ike the Don says, I think Seth was his best after the knee injury. Peak Seth Rollins, IC champ, Monday Night Rollins. He was carrying Raw. I can't believe he's still saying Monday Night Rollins. It's been 8 years, dog. Enough of that. AJ3 says Rollins was the WWE champion or Universal champion when Becky won the Women's title. He was a Universal champ. He had beat Brock. He was red belt champ. and he was the shits. Oh, it was so bad. It was real bad. Yeah, the man bun was shits. David Otunga, well, he works in WWE, I think, isn't he? He still works in their legal department. The Generation Sharingan says not gonna lie, Booker T, Kevin Ashton as TNA commentators was hilarious. Yeah. Do I want more questions? Absolutely. Let's keep going. See how far we can get. Big Armada says deep state going to deep state won't matter who's in office. Yeah, I mean that's just kind of how I expect it to go. You know, like they got things so tied up that you can't just get out of this stuff that easily. You're not gonna just be like, oh yeah, we flashed this light on this thing and then that's it. They absolutely got this thing set up so tight. I mean, look, the way it works is they always got something gumming up the works. You know, the liberals lost the presidency and they lost Congress, but they still got the courts. So they're gonna jam everything up in the courts, and they're gonna just hold the ball and take a knee for 4 years, and then hopefully ride out the storm. You know, that's why it's important that Trump and Elon Musk get to work on this stuff immediately and get it in front of the Supreme Court as quickly as possible. Because then at that point you can actually do something. But if you actually let them drag their feet with them filing lawsuits for every little thing, then you're not going to have anything. You're not going to get anything done for 4 years. Then it won't matter that you won the presidency and you got Congress. It won't matter at that point. WG Phil says the theory is Jean died. She OD'd on pills, and the dog was locked in a cage and starved to death. Hmm. That would not be good. That would not be good. The Generation Sharingan says, what are your feelings towards music conspiracy theories? What are some that make you think that makes sense or just unrealistic? Or just unrealistic? Now, what do you mean by music conspiracy theories? You mean like the old all these supposedly smart rappers who are like, they got rid of all of the thought-provoking uh, intelligent rap. They got rid of all of that and replaced it with the gang bangers. Because that's not true. A lot of people just found the gang banging stuff to be more relatable, and they had better production. Like I know that everybody thinks that these wise, intelligent Negroes are better rappers or whatever. And they might be, but they weren't making music that anybody cared about outside of a small niche community. If they had continued to make a De La Soul or a Tribe Called Quest had been able, they had internal issues, like especially Tribe Called Quest. If they'd have been able to continue doing what they do, they still would have ended up playing the back seat. But there's always been like a hint of what's going on right now with Kendrick Lamar, where there's conscious rappers who come to the top, like the Fugees, you know, Common. During the era of Obama, Common and Kanye had linked up and they were creating classics. They were doing tremendous stuff. Lupe Fiasco at the same time, and then he called Obama a terrorist and they put the boots to him. But Kanye himself, for a while there, was the most popular conscious rapper. So there's always been sort of conscious rappers, even though conscious to what degree, because Kanye also went off the deep end and making ridiculous stuff. But that's one of the conspiracy theories out there, is that the record labels killed the conscious MC and replaced them with the gangster pimp, But it's like that was shit that was selling records. They was just being capitalists, man. Um, I can't think of any other music conspiracy theories. I mean, you could say it's realistic because there was some good conscious rap. There was also some good gangster rap that you never heard. So there's a little of that too. AJ3 says, what is your take on Joey Reid being fired from MSNBC? She sucked. She's not good at her job. Um, our good There's a guy named Blanchard Robinson. He's named Free Blanche. He does shows with Shadow Jackson. I was listening to his live stream earlier, and I think he took my thought right out of my head. Joy Reid is interchangeable because there's nothing she's going to say that other black people can't, or black women especially, are going to say. She has no original thoughts, no original thoughts, no original feelings. That's the thing about MSNBC in general, is everybody's interchangeable. Like, you could just take certain people out and replace them, because what are you really missing? Joy Reid is just, she goes along to get along. Whatever is said, she doesn't argue with her colleagues or anything. She just goes along, says exactly what they tell her to say. She thinks whatever the Democratic Party says she should think. And that's it. And I said to myself, like, look, if she really had talent, skill, ability, if she had any real insight, she would just be able to boot up a podcast and she'll be fine. But there's a reason why these people, these Don Lemons, like Don Lemon has a podcast, but I don't think it's successful. Joy Reid might start a podcast. I don't think it'll be successful, because, like what Blanche said, it's a glut of left-wing thought. Everybody thinks the way that you think. Like everybody does. Everybody has the same takes on MSNBC. You have the same takes on The View. That shit's boring. If everybody is doing the same thing, what makes you different? Nothing. Nothing makes you different. So they don't need you. They'll just replace you with another black woman, which I think they're doing. I think they're going to take another bald black woman and put her in Joy Reid's chair in her time slot. But this tells you exactly what they think of black people. You're just interchangeable. We can get somebody who looks just like you, bald, black, dumb, just like you, put you right here in this chair. We made you a millionaire, we'll make them one too. Now what? It's up to you to prove that you had something unique. Look at what happened with Tucker left Fox. He still became successful because people like Tucker. Tucker was not, the average guy at Fox. He was toned down for, if anything, because he was under such scrutiny at Fox. When he got rid of that governor over his head, like, that was the best thing they could have done for him, is get him off Fox. Because now nobody's going to tell him what to say. You know what I'm saying? Like, now he's going to partner up with Elon Musk, and they're about to sit here and talk about whatever the fuck he wants to on Twitter. So they actually made it worse for him. But to them, the old-fashioned canceling, get you off TV is the best thing that they can do. But what happens when you're uncancelable? Once they, like, that happened to a lot of people. Like, once they got kicked off the mainstream site, their real opinion started coming out. Like, there was a lot of people who got booted off of YouTube. And that was because YouTube would have, like, these standards and practices that they're like, okay, we want to be on YouTube, so we're going to mellow out. But then as soon as they get kicked off YouTube, they go over to Rumble or something like that, and they start cutting loose. And because, like, once you've already lost it, you lost those golden handcuffs, boy, there's nothing to hold you back. But yeah, Joy Reid's the shits, and she's an idiot. So there's that. X9 said, "What's worse, Dynamite or Smackdown?" Oh, Dynamite is terrible, but Smackdown is 3 hours. I think that extra hour really is painful. That extra hour is painful. You literally feel it. It's that bad. What are we talking about here? WG Phil says, "Do you think Steve stopped showing up at WWE because he knows the Deborah allegations would get brought up?" No, because the shooter interviews and stuff with Deborah has been out forever, and plus it's public record that he got arrested for domestic violence. It's not. I don't think that it's. Well, why would they bring it up? Who's going to bring it up? None of the boys will. Is the fans going to bring it up? The fans do bring it up sometimes when they want a virtue signal, but I don't think so. The Generation Sharingan says, does Bobby Lashley and MVP count as Vince guys? MVP probably not, because I know he's had his issues with Vince, but Vince always believed in Lashley. He just tried to find, and the only reason he even was okay. That's why I think the reason he broke up the Hurt business is because he saw it as a vehicle to get Lashley over, and he didn't care about Shelton. So he was kind of like, okay, well, my boy is over finally, over to the max anyway. And he just didn't want Lashley running around with those guys. But I would say Lashley, yes. MVP, probably not. You said let's not give Kevin Samuels too much credit. Huh. I wouldn't do that. I think that there's a lot of people that helped. I think that he helped force people to think about things, you know, and sometimes that's all they really need. It was the same thing with Patrice O'Neal, you know. You hear that contrarian voice that becomes popular, and you start saying, "Damn, why didn't I think about that?" Even if you don't like the tone that he says it in, you're like, "Oh shit, I didn't think about that. Didn't consider that before." He said a lot of black people are conservative, just not white right. Yep, that's a good point. AJ3 says there's another thing that the internet does. It has normalized the celebrity culture as well. That's the worst thing the internet has done. That is the worst thing that the internet has done, is it has turned celebrities, they're in your face all day, every day. All day, every day. I just can't stand it. I'm sick of it. Goes through 94 says once Obama became president, it was mission accomplished to the Democrats. Well, that was phase one. Phase one was black president. They began phase two immediately, which is LGBT stuff. Phase three was trans stuff, but the LGBT stuff, it became more of an issue in the localities than it is in the public. And it became a big issue in the Biden administration because there's like an inordinate amount of trans people in the federal government now and in the military. It's like, why the fuck are there so many trans people? Like, you would have to think there are so few trans people in the entire country that they were going out and searching for these people and bringing them into the government. There's so many trans people in the government. It's unreal. Where do they find all these freaks and weirdos? Like the two guys who were having sex in like what was it, Congress or something like that? Like, where do they find these freaks and weirdos? Like, where do these people come from? They actively went out and searched for them. They had to. You don't find this many freaks and weirdos by accident. And that was phase two. Was the LGBT stuff. So Obama wasn't the end game. It was phase one. Use the black people to Trojan horse everything else in. The only thing is, it woke a lot of black people up to that. The General Sharingan says Candace Owens is a grifter, and Tatum is just a really handkerchief head Sambo. I haven't watched anything Tatum has done in a long time. It's been well over 3 years. Well over 3 years. Candace Owens is hilarious, though. I think she's gone beyond the point where her being a grifter is even a thought process. She's nuked her name in such a way where she's got to believe this stuff. If you were a grifter, you'd have backed off some of this shit by now. But she's going full on the first lady of France as a trans woman, constantly going on about the Jews and stuff like this. I mean, she's just going on and on and on. I mean, I don't know if she's grifting, she's really to put a lot of meat on the fire because she's not fucking around. She's about as bad as Alex Jones at this point. Big Armada says, I'm glad Obama got exposed like he did this past election when he was campaigning for Kamala Harris. Yeah, I mean, that was great, wasn't it? That was tremendous. People didn't want to hear that shit no more because they knew what he was about. Everybody knew what he was showing up to do. WG Field says people blame Vince for 2017 to 2019. When are they going to consider it was the stars Vince was getting from Black and Gold NXT, even if they were willing to move up the main roster? Yes, but he was also making bad decisions. Like one of the decisions was, Goldberg beating the Fiend, which I'm iffy about. I understand why they did that because they wanted to have Goldberg versus Roman at WrestleMania. That was the plan. And then the pandemic happened and that blew everything up. But then he also did the Fiend and Seth Rollins, that Hell in a Cell match that turned into an absolute debacle. Everybody hated it. And then the finish was the shits. I mean, there was some stuff here and there that I don't appreciate, but so I get it. But I think that he really had found his groove again in 2020 when there was no crowd and they leaned into the theatrical stuff. The Bloodline, the Firefly Funhouse, all that kind of stuff. I think that's really when he started. Believe it or not, like the shows are not that watchable because it's empty arena. But that's when he really started kind of building characters again and realizing how to adapt to there not being a crowd in the building and stuff like that. Khalil Bennett says, as cringe as the Beth Seth angle was, we got end of days on Becky Lynch out of it. True that. That lives in infamy. The General Sharingan says, I've noticed a lot of videos that says that, Trump voters are regretting their decision. Is this legit or just propaganda? It's a little of both. There's always going to be people who regret the decision. There's always going to be more people who are, it is just propaganda, it's just fake. And part of that is to, of course, split the Republican vote, But there's a lot of people who are genuinely didn't think they would be affected this much by what Trump's ideas are. Like, there's people who are losing their jobs. People who's, I think Shamika Michelle, who works with Jason Whitlock, she talked about her daughter wanting to be an IRS agent, and they going through cutting the IRS, and now she has to find something else to do because, like, I don't think they're hiring now. And it's like, yeah, those are real stories about real people. At the same time, though, we knew that when we voted these guys in. When we said we wanted you to, shrink the government, we recognize that these are somebody's sons and daughters that are living in Washington, D.C. We recognize that. We knew that. Do it anyway. When they started talking about restructuring things like Medicaid and not being able to buy junk food, it's like, yeah, we recognize that that's going to piss people off. Now, the whole thing about people not being able to buy junk food with food stamps, we know how that's going to go. They're just going to sell the stamps and get the cash and then buy the junk food anyway. We already know this. We're not stupid. They've been doing this shit with cigarettes and alcohol and stuff for years already. They're just going to do it now for M&Ms. So you're not going to lose any sleep about that. But there's going to be some discomfort, as you transition away from people who are so reliant on the government, and you realize at this point how reliant people are on the government. Like one of the things that one of the stats I saw, I didn't look into it because I didn't care, but somebody was talking about one of the highest percentage of Black women. I'm butchering this. The federal government hires a lot of Black women, and that when you look at the government cuts, if they're going to start cutting pay or cutting, talent or whatever, that's going to affect a lot of Black women because so many Black people work in the government. Like, I never even thought about that, but I also don't care about it because I still want you to shrink the size of the government. If you can't find a regular job in the private sector, which you should be able to, or you should be able to create a job in the private sector, one or the other, then you are worthless anyway. You shouldn't even been in the government if you can't find another job. And then we keep hearing about how educated they are and they should be able to bounce back, you know? Goes through 94 says, I mean, how many unions still fuck with Trump? Well, I don't think he's done anything to the unions yet. What he's did irreparable damage to the public safety unions, or just the public sector unions. Um, but until he actually starts doing stuff when it comes to labor, I don't know. Like, yes, the trade wars are going to end up being a problem for the unions. Um, so we'll see. But I think most of these trade wars or whatever are just Trump throwing his dick around, and he's not really going to hit countries like 30-40% tariffs. That's just insane. And I would hope he's not that ridiculous, but that's what he's threatening to do, if I'm being honest. Jermaine Chapman says, how did Seth not get fired after the nude leaks, Yahtzee girlfriend, and injuring John, Sting, and Balor? I'm pretty sure Triple H was in Vince's ear. The Nazi girlfriend is not really his fault. But the naked thing is not his fault either, because that stuff got leaked out. But him injuring Sting, Finn Balor, and John Cena, yeah, I could have saw Vince probably would have, especially Sting, because he pretty much ended Sting's career. I could see Vince being agitated about that. Big Armada says this. I say it's literally mostly propaganda. There's always going to be regret depending on what issues are important to you, but the level that they are making it out to be doesn't really add up. Yeah, because nothing has really happened yet. So it's not that bad. Like if we were 3 years in or 2.5 years in, and all these legal cases are over and Trump is just hacking away at the government, doing all kind of reckless, dumb shit, then maybe. But we're 2 months in. We're barely a month in, if we're being honest. Because he started on January the 19th or 20th or something like that. So we're a little over a month in. And it's he really hasn't gotten anything done yet. You know? He's pissed a lot of people off, with some of the stuff that he said, and that has led to people being upset. Like the whole thing when he started talking about taking over Gaza, like that pissed a lot of people off. It even ruffled my feathers. I don't even care about Gaza. I just don't want the Americans getting in the middle of that thing. If we start building it, we got to defend it. So I don't want him doing anything over there. But I mean, generally speaking, he hasn't done anything yet. So it's obviously a lot of AstroTurf shit. X9 says, tell me about Beast Mortos versus Hologram. Ain't going to be 900,000 K max. The world would be healing. Beast Mortos is rules. I don't know about the hologram guy, though. I'm not so sure about that. The Generate Shine guy says, old conspiracy theories I'm talking about, like Jay-Z and Beyonce are the Illuminati, and they killed off Aaliyah to create Beyonce's rise. Well, I certainly think Jay-Z and Beyonce are the Illuminati. I don't think they killed Aaliyah, though. See, that whole thing about sacrifices, you got to make a sacrifice. I sacrificed my son. Ain't that what that schizophrenic broad Jaguar Wright said? They sacrificed my son. Shut your ass. Or what's that weirdo who used to hang around the St. Lunatics? The really, really ugly guy. I mean, he's super ugly, dude. I mean, goddamn, he Haitian ugly. But some of those conspiracy theories about the Illuminati and shit like that. I mean, that's just people that are connected. You see that lawsuit against Jay-Z fell. I told you at that point he's not even Jay-Z. He's Beyonce's husband. That shit went away quick. But Jay-Z taught you how you handle this shit, though. He fought it tooth and nail. So he forced that shit to go away. He says, or another conspiracy theory, Kurt Cobain didn't commit suicide and it was his wife that had a hand in murdering him. I think that that's when it comes to suicides, there's always going to be that question of would they really have done it? But you never really know what drug addicts is going through and what kind of despair they got going on. So I definitely think he committed suicide, and I don't think that she had anything to do with that. I definitely think Diddy's in the Illuminati too. You think he had a hand in Tupac's murder? Mm, I don't. The thing is, when it comes to the deaths of Biggie and Tupac, I don't go to conspiracy theories with that. I think that it's the Occam's razor situation where the simplest thing is the right thing. I mean, everybody's known for 30 years Orlando Anderson killed Tupac. Why anybody think is anybody else is stupid. He's a gangbanger who got jumped in the casino. He knew who jumped him because they're celebrities, and he spun the block. Like that is not out of the ordinary. And then he's dead. He's dead now. I know that everybody wants it to be some kind of Martin Luther King, some kind of ML, blah, blah, blah. JFK. There was a second shooter or something. Like, nah, it was nigga was in the middle of some hood shit, and he went out in the middle of some hood shit. People have gotten into fights, won the fight, or jumped somebody, and then they got hit up later. I mean, it happens. And I think Biggie was retaliation because people want to believe and was led to believe that he had something to do with Tupac dying. And I think that's really pretty much, and people still are doing it 30 years later because they say, well, Diddy was giving money to the Crips for protection when they went out west. That means Diddy was connected to the Crips, which means Orlando Anderson. It's like, is there any evidence that Diddy ever met Orlando Anderson? Like, you don't need more of a motive than he stomped me while I was on the ground. What more fucking motive do you need? Right? Like, you don't have to add extra to that. Like that's good flavor right there by itself. You beat up a gangbanger in a gang related assault and he got retaliation. That's what they do. That's what the fuck they do. Why are you overthinking it? So no, I don't believe that Diddy had anything to do with that shit. I think that it was just Tupac and his stupid ass friends. They got caught slipping and he got smoked. Just like what happens to a lot of people who get involved with these dumbass situations. He went out like Kane in Men's Society. Kane beat up that guy earlier in the movie. The guy spun the fucking block. That's what gangbangers do. That's an accurate depiction of gangbangers. That's why you don't fight gangbangers. That's why most people don't fight them, because they're going to come back with guns and they're going to do a drive-by or some shit like that. No, I don't think there's anything more to it than that. I think all the movies and documentaries, that's why there's no response to this shit. All the movies and documentaries and blaming the LAPD and all that, like, come on. You're certainly overthinking it. You're complicating it. All you got to do is think like a gangbanger. You got your ass kicked, but you're still alive. And maybe you didn't need to go to the hospital. Or even if you did need to go, you mad enough, you mad than a motherfucker right now. As soon as you see him, it's on. It's that simple. What qualms would you have about not doing it? The thing is, people think that Tupac is some kind of deity and like an average dude can't just take him out. Wrong. He was an average dude on the road and he rolled up next to him and did what gangbangers do. How he missed Suge is the thing that surprises the fuck out of me. Because Suge is wide as all outside. How the fuck you didn't kill him too? That's the one thing that makes it a conspiracy theory is Suge didn't fucking die. WWE TNA full says, considering the inevitable flop that was Captain America 4, how cooked is the MCU heading into the Avengers Doomsday next year? Man, I think they should reconsider. They're probably going to hinge a lot on the Fantastic Four now. They've already done the investment on on, the Doctor Doom and all this kind of stuff. They've already done now the investing. They're gonna have to go with it. But everybody knew that movie was gonna flop. There was just no question about it. You said Ryan Satin might bring up Deborah beating Stone Cold beating Deborah. Is he even still around? I haven't heard anything about that bum in forever. You said AJ3 says, but then people start questioning what is black. And for black people crying for reparations, they didn't do that when Obama was in office. They certainly wouldn't have got it when Obama was in office either. That's for sure. The Generation Sharingan says, but there were so many contrarian black voices before that zesty grifter. Kevin Samuels, Patrice O'Neal, Tommy Sotomayor, even Tariq Nasheed, goofy ass. See, Tariq Nasheed is the zesty grifter. he is the zesty grifter. Tariq Nasheed is. Yeah, Patrice O'Neal was a good one. And Tommy Sotomayor is still around. He does weird stuff though. But yeah, there's a lot more guys like them now. And they were sort of the pioneers of this whole thing. But a lot of them have been getting, of course, Patrice O'Neal died, and of course, Kevin Samuels ended up dying, and Tariq Nasheed went on to his next grift. But Tommy Sotomayor had been kicked off YouTube so many times. That's happening to the Cutting Through the Culture crew a lot too, especially Blanchard Robinson. He getting kicked off of Instagram, and they've been trying to kick him off YouTube and stuff forever. But Tommy Sotomayor was making fun of black women. That's the sacred cow. You can't do that. You can't make fun of black women, and that's where Patrice O'Neal and Kevin Samuels and Thomas Sotomayor, that's where they kind of go in. They start dissing the black women. Nobody likes that in Hollywood and shit. They don't like that. WWE TNA folks said, who would be the most trash candidate heading into 2028 for the Dems? AOC, Jasmine Crockett, Gavin Newsom, or Kamala Harris? I think Kamala is done. They put up, this was the stupidest thing in the world. I'm going to tell you about this. For 26 days throughout the entire month of February, my job did not have any Black History Month, anything on the wall. None. Nothing. And then randomly, on Tuesday, they decided they're going to put up all this Black History Month shit. I'm like, the month is over. You got 3 or 4 days and this month is over. Right? And they started putting up all this Black History Month shit. And then, of course, there's Kamala Harris right here. I'm like, what did she do? There's Michelle Obama. And what the fuck did she do? What are these people doing? What did Michelle Obama, okay, you want to put Barack up there, first Black president? Okay. What did Michelle do? What was her great achievement? What did she achieve? She married the nigga who became the president. That was it. She ain't did anything else. She wasn't a senator. She wasn't in the House. She didn't do anything. She wasn't Secretary of State or nothing. She was nothing. And Kamala Harris, sure, she was a senator, and I guess she was the first Black vice president. But she didn't get voted in. She got picked. That was it. But Kamala Harris is cooked. A lot of those women are cooked. It's obviously going to be Gavin Newsom. All right, he's the most obvious choice. It'll probably be that bitch that runs Michigan too, Whitmer. It'll probably be Newsom and Whitmer, and that's going to be a fucking disaster because Gavin Newsom is easily one of the worst governors in the entire state. And there's almost no way that I can see Gavin Newsom. He should never be president. Never. Never, ever, ever. Never, ever, ever, ever. They'll probably do the guy from Pennsylvania too. They'll probably try him. But I can see Gavin Newsom being the guy that they try the most. I don't think they're going to try another woman, though. They'll probably have a token woman in there, but AOC is too stupid. And a lot of those other Black women, they get too aggressive. Like the Jasmine Crockett's and all of them with their silly wigs. Either they're bald or they're wearing dumbass wigs. They're too aggressive and they're too off-putting. They're the sapphire trope that I just learned about. too much neck rolling, lip popping, and bad attitude. I don't think anybody would vote for them. If they want to lose, they could put a Jasmine Crockett on there. If they want to, they want to lose. Their best option is to go with Gavin Newsom, you know, because he ran California and he wins over a lot of the progressives because he is a progressive. And California is the most liberal state in the union. So if you really want to galvanize the progressive vote and all that, you would go with Newsom. But you'll probably lose all the fucking middle states with Newsom. Because I could just tell you there's probably a lot of people in middle America who hate that fucking guy. So ain't no telling. The Degenerate Sharingan says they give Candace Owens some credit for the for the Israel-Palestine stop. Yeah, she goes into a lot of weird stuff. Like, she's gone beyond normal talking points, which is why I don't think she's a grifter. If she was just saying like the normal shit, back when she was saying the normal shit, I would say, okay, she's not really capable of too much original thought. But now since she left Daily Wire, she's just been off the hilt. I mean, she's on the verge of getting sued by a bunch of people. she's off the deep end, bro. You say you'll take Vince's later years, 21 and 22. Yeah, I didn't hate it. I think he got better in 22. Again, I'll admit, a lot of the later years, the later 2017, 2018, 2019, that stuff was not good. And 2020 couldn't be helped because it was a pandemic. But he still has some interesting ideas there. But the thing is, people like wacky wrestling. You remember it. A lot of this stuff that's going on TV now, you don't remember it. And then when they start actually doing something, if it's not the best thing, it sticks out like a sore thumb. Like The Rock's promo from Friday. If they had been doing something fun, that promo would have came and went. People would have been like, man, that was weird. But hey, Pretty Deadly did like a apple diving contest. What the fuck were they thinking? But when it's only The Rock standing in there doing weird shit and everybody else is boring, that shit sticks out like a sore fucking thumb. He said the people who regretted voting for Trump weren't Trump supporters anyway. I mean, yeah, that's kind of how it is, because Trump said he was going to do all the stuff that he's doing. I mean, the whole stuff with Elon Musk, they told everybody he was going to do that. He told everybody that's what they wanted. So that's not, you didn't lie to anybody, at least. AJ3 says another stupid thing about Democrats, they domesticated and emasculate men. They always pick the Don Lemons and Roland Martins who are butt broke and reject through man like Charles Barron. They want people they can control. It's that simple. They want what they can control. That's the nature of the Communist Party. Even if you agree with them, they still want you to be on code. They don't want you to be off code for anything. They probably could win more if they compromised. If they stopped being psychos about the trans stuff. The thing is, the first Democrat to break away and say, look, we don't need drag queens in school is going to end up getting the bulk of the vote. The first one who stands up and says, we got to get back to common sense, parents have control over what their children need to learn in schools. Just start talking normal, then you'll probably see a lot of people who voted for Trump go back to voting for Democrats, or at least specifically for that Democrat. But they want psychos that they can control. They want profoundly stupid people like AOC. That's what they want. And the pundit class want that too, because it's all people they can talk about. Gozu94 says the research funds getting cut off is fucking up a lot of science and biotech jobs, regardless if it's the government or private owned. Yeah, and that was one of the things that a lot of people have complained about is like, look, some of this stuff is actually needed, but Elon Musk has decided that his tactic, like some people want him to turn things off as needed, you know. But he wants to turn everything off and then turn only things that are good back on, you know. And it's like, okay, sure, but that's just one way of doing things. You run everybody out, and then you say, okay, we do need this. Okay, we do need that. 'Cause that's what he did with Twitter. He got rid of pretty much everybody, and then he just started from scratch. But you don't have time to do that when you are in the government. You don't have time to get rid of everybody and then reboot the government. It just that don't work. But uh, this is also realizes, by the way, and when people start complaining about this stuff, just think about this. How many industries were being kept alive by government? All these biotech jobs and stuff, how many of these jobs would not exist without government funding? So that means that they need to tax you through the ass. Otherwise, they can't fund certain things. It's like, shouldn't there be endowments and all kind of NGOs that help fund these things? Why does the government have to do it? The government shouldn't have to do this stuff. Go somewhere else. Go to some other institute. Go to like Henry Ford or somebody like that and get an endowment or something. You don't have to get this shit through HHS or somewhere else. Go somewhere else and get that fucking money. You know, somewhere where you actually gonna have to produce something, or they're gonna cut you the fuck off. Part of the reason why I want that stuff cut off is because the government does not look for outcomes. Nobody even knows what. Not just, hey, they're funding gay comic books in Nicaragua or whatever. Is not even a question about whether it even works. So you're funding something that is profoundly stupid, and then you're not even being shown that it's actually working, that it does what you're paying for it to do. So, and there's no way for anybody to even check on that shit. So turn that shit off. Like, if these people like need money, let them go to the private sector and get money. There's there's whole universities willing to pay for that shit. You know, how many billions of dollars does Harvard have? How many billions of dollars does Yale have? Let them pay for that shit, man. You go find that money from somewhere else. You don't need it from the federal government, because if you get it from a private source, they're going to want outcomes, right? They're going to want to actually produce something. The federal government isn't asking people to produce any fucking thing. That's why you can looking at homosexuality and koalas or whatever, man. Like, who the hell cares about this shit? WG Phil says, is WWE allowing Punk to do his virtual signaling shirts like in AEW? Well, I don't think they're going to be able to do anything about it. He's got him over a barrel at this point. Triple H kind of needs him. It says, is European Championship coming back? I don't think so. I think they missed the boat on that. Darren Miles says Triple H is nose going to the Hall of Fame since it never got broke. It's a solid gold nose. He said Keefe D did admit to it in several interviews. I think he was just talking himself up. A lot of things are these people exaggerate. These people exaggerate. Because as soon as he got arrested for it, all of us, which everybody should have known by now that there's no statute of limitations on murder. As soon as he got arrested, all of a sudden, no, it didn't happen. No. Everybody says some stupid shit. Because, like, who the fuck knows who that guy is without him talking about that kind of stuff? Is Tommy Sotomayor still doing porn? I don't know. Because when I found out he was doing porn, I stopped watching it. I'm not even going to hold you up. As soon as I heard he was doing porn and that he was doing this stuff behind the OnlyFans, I was like, what? And then I found out it was true. I thought it was bullshit at first. And I found out it was true. I was like, nah, I'm good. And that was it. I don't think I've seen a Tommy Sotomayor video since. So I don't know if he's still doing porn. I don't know if he's back on YouTube under one of his millions of different accounts. I don't know. Would you feel remember Tariq's disco song, It's Time? Yeah, his bad funk band. Weirdo. Hair had it hooligans making a fool again. What are your finest memories of Eric Mays? I don't think I have any. Generation Sharingan says I thought the most progressive states were the PNW states, Pacific Northwest states like Oregon and Washington. Well, where do you think all those people are coming from? All those people are coming from California. Now, Oregon is pretty bad. Oregon sucks, but I think it's just Portland. And same thing with Washington, like Seattle. Like the big cities in those states are really bad. But it's the same thing in California, though. Like it's the same thing really for all of these liberal states. It's literally just the big cities. So it's like San Francisco, Sacramento, Los Angeles, um, Portland, Seattle, I think, and over in New York is New York City, and then it's Boston, and then it's Philadelphia is not as woke, but kind of wokish, but it's not nearly as bad as the rest of the country. But yeah, like the big cities tend to be pretty fucking woke in this country, but the Pacific Northwest is pretty bad. Yeah. Oregon is pretty fucked. Oregon is really bad. I was just reading in the book, and it got that way in the '60s from all the students that were leaving like the California universities. They were going up state to like Washington. A lot of them were hiding out because they were involved with like criminal shit, and like that's where like the Black Panthers and all of them started going up the Pacific Northwest. I don't know how true that is, but they did absolutely infested universities, especially in the Pacific Northwest. And they in New York and places like that, they infested the universities, and that's pretty much what created these areas. Like here in Detroit, the most woke area of Detroit is where Wayne State University is. The most incredibly woke, and then after that is high income areas. So it's like the suburbs, like Ferndale, super woke. I mean, just random Black Lives Matter flags in a bar for no reason. It's like somehow there's trans flags outside the pub for no reason. Like what? Why is there a trans flag here? Do we need one? You know, it was a disaster. When I went down there to Ferndale for what was it? There was like a car, not a car show, but they were showing off a lot of new cars and stuff, and it was like super gay for no reason, like gay as fuck for no reason. I'm like, what's happening? Why is it so gay around here? Just how it's a it's a luxury belief. You know, it's one of those things where they just think they look at it like it's important. But yeah, there's also a really couple of super gay neighborhoods in Detroit too. One is Palmer Park, which is actually kind of in Highland Park, where all the trannies and stuff are. And then there is somewhere over here on the east side where it's kind of like a small community of really high income people, but it's full of coffee shops and well, you know, coffee shops. Coffee shop culture is that gay shit anyway, and a lot of that stuff is the same general garbage that you get in the Pacific Northwest. It's really bad. It's terrible, actually. AJ3 says, "What are your thoughts on the complaints people have about the women's division in WWE's main roster?" I think they have a point because the women's division sucks ass. It's bad. It's really bad. It's worse than when Vince was running it. It's basically just been Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley for 2 fucking years now. That's pretty much been it, you know. And then you had Bailey stinking up the joint, which I like Bailey. I love Auntie Pam. My God, but she was really bad. And then because they didn't book her to do anything, she was boring. And Bailey is anything other than boring. She can be a fun character, but again, when Triple H took over, she didn't have to put forth any effort because Papa H was there. He's gonna take care of her. So then there's that. Generation Sharingan says Tommy is banned from YouTube. He's just on Rumble and Twitter Spaces. The last time I heard from him, he's been banned from YouTube before, and he just creates new channels. So he's probably much like Mr. Medicare, he's probably created some kind of new channel that nobody knows exists, and then it's going to get banned. I don't know. I don't think he ever really gave up on Twitter. I mean, gave up on YouTube. You said Councilman Eric Mays from Flint. Oh shit! I never lived in Flint, so I don't know. Who's the biggest joke at this point for their grift? Dr. Umar or Tariq Nasheed? Well, I think Umar is probably a bigger joke because that school's still not built. Tariq Nasheed can at least fall on this whole FBA thing, and he's going to get away with a lot because of that. But Dr. Umar still ain't built that damn school. Well, he built the school, but it's still not open. He claimed that he built it. I don't know what the fuck he's doing because apparently the school been built for 5 years. They ain't threw a brick to that bitch yet. If you got a building unoccupied for that long, somebody gonna chuck a brick through it. Somebody gonna spray paint on it or something. I ain't heard nothing about none of that, so I'm very suspicious. Israel Massey said, "What gimmick from the new generation era do you think would work in today's WWE?" Not Razor Ramon. That'd be cultural appropriation. Let's see. Maybe Diesel because he was a strong, silent type. Batista got away with that. You might be able to get away with a Diesel-like gimmick, a Psycho Sid gimmick. That would be fun. But none of the wackier gimmicks like Henry Godwin or anything will work. Degenerate Shining Eyes says, how many DMV area is pretty progressive here, but I don't think it's on the level of, say, Pacific Northwest progressive or Canadian progressive. Yeah, like Canada is out of control. Canada is sick with it. I think they might. California, Canada, and New York are probably like really bad off. And it's like not even like one province in Canada. It's like all of Canada. Like the entire Canadian government is infested with weirdos. Just weirdos all up and through. It's like worms. You just gotta cut it out. Like, ugh. Why do some men try to make money by arguing online? Well, because it's easy money to make, I would imagine. Why are the most snobbiest, wealthiest places are the most left leaning? Because that's where you get the most white guilt. It's easy to believe that everybody gets an inheritance if you got an inheritance, right? When you meet people who really work for a living, they tend not to have that kind of white guilt, especially if they work with their hands. Even if they're a Democrat, they don't buy into that white guilt shit because they know the value of hard work. But somebody whose mama and daddy been paying their bills all this time, they had a nanny, or even worse, an au pair. They went to private schools. Then it's easy for them to say, "Well, I am a child of privilege. All white people have privilege. All of my friends had privilege." It's like, yeah, but this guy, his mom was a crackhead. This guy's mom was in and out of jail. She was an alcoholic. He ain't got no fucking privilege. It's easy to believe that if that's what you lived in. And then people are telling you that. All your black friends are telling you, you have all this white privilege. And you're like, I am privileged. You're privileged because you're fucking rich, not because you're white. Because mama and daddy had money and took care of you. That's why you had privilege. It wasn't because you were rich. And then people believe that shit. And then also, rich people tend to turn everything into a pet project because they don't have that much time. I mean, because they don't spend a lot of time working and surviving. So they have a lot of time to take up social causes, especially white women. So they'll they treat the blacks, the Jews, the LGBT, they treat them like pets. You know, um, they might as well just put them in their purse. It's ridiculous. It's pathetic, absolutely pathetic. What do I think of the Destiny drama? Outside of he's fucked for sending around news of him having sex with these girls. Other than that, I'm surprised he was even having sex with girls. He's a homo. And if I was him, I would be trying to get tested, knowing that he's been having sex with men too. So I, you probably should go and get tested and not worry about suing him. But I gotta say, the Lauren Southern thing took me by surprise, and the fact that she never said anything about it, she hasn't. I don't think she's even come out to refute it. Was entertaining to me. I thought that was entertaining. And that's a grifter right there. The Generation Arena said the man, he's been definitely banned. YouTube has a new policy since 2022. The FBA delineation wave is a cult. It's very weird. It's extremely weird. And it's becoming something that people are really, really, really attached to. And I've been pushing the whole individualist thing. It don't matter where these people are from, man. I agree with now the FBAs are really, they turned up because Trump and them found out that they were actually helping illegal immigrants, or helping African immigrants here, giving them scholarships that was meant for Black Americans, quote unquote, meant for Black Americans, all kind of grants and things like this. So they burnt up about that right now, and I can actually stand on their side on that one. But typically, I don't care about this shit. I'm a individualist. Like, it doesn't matter where people come from. Ultimately, they're not taking food off my table, and they're not putting anything in my mouth. Pause. They're not putting anything on my plate. I don't care. Ultimately, I don't really give a shit. But when I do find out that these people are ripping off the taxpayer, I have a problem with that. I don't like that at all. So I'll support them on that trip. WG Field says people caping for Luigi when he wasn't covered by the insurance company and got an elective surgery. But most of it is he's a conventionally attractive guy. I think, and part of it is he's got the Clyde Barrow situation where they view him as a handsome bad boy. I can fix him, but he's just a cold-blooded murderer. There's just no. But then again, women love Ted Bundy too. They're retards. Israel Massey, what did you think of the beef between Tommy Sotomayor and Kwame Brown back when it happened? I wasn't paying attention to that shit because I think that's when I found out about. I remember them going back and forth. I was never really a Kwame Brown guy though. Will I be participating in Al Sharpton's DEI boycott tomorrow? This is your chance to make a difference. It ain't gonna work. You know what they should do is they should check to see how many people that Al Sharpton is gonna bust in. Like that's a common thing that they do now. Like, again, reading this book, Bearing the Cross, that was a deep concern in the civil rights movement. Is they didn't want to seem like it was artificial. Like, they really did not want people to think that it was outside agitators coming into Montgomery trying to force the laws to be changed. Now nobody cares. Al Sharpton can bust Negroes from fucking Canada if he wants to into a Costco or whatever. And it's just taken like it's legitimate. Like, he took all those Negroes to Costco and gave them free money and they still didn't buy they still didn't buy anything. I think whatever cultural cachet Al Sharpton had is gone. His time in the sun is over. All right, y'all. I finally got to the bottom of this thing. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for your time. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.